When early settlers ventured into the wild frontier, they weren't chasing comfort, they were racing against death. No roads, no maps, no neighbors, just endless trees and the creeping threat of winter. They had no backup plans, no modern tools, just their bare hands, a few rusty axes, and the pressure to build shelter before the first snowfall hit. Because out here, no house meant no chance. Let's uncover how these pioneers carved homes from nothing but wilderness, and why the smallest mistake could cost them everything. Land selection. Choosing the right spot to build was critical. A poor decision could mean disaster during storms or winter. Most pioneers searched for a place near fresh water, with a bit of open land and a nearby forest for timber. The location needed to be dry, slightly elevated, and protected from strong winds. They also looked for good drainage, so water wouldn't collect around the foundation. These decisions were made quickly, often within a day or two of arriving. Time wasn't on their side. Weather, animals, and fatigue were always a threat. Clearing the site. Before any building could begin, the land had to be cleared. That meant cutting down trees, removing brush, and digging out stubborn roots. Imagine swinging a heavy axe for hours, even days, just to clear a small patch of land. No chainsaws, no machines, just effort. Families worked together. Even children helped gather sticks, remove rocks, or carry water for the workers. Every hand counted. The cleared logs were saved, they were the raw material for the house. Choosing logs. Not all trees were equal. Pioneers often preferred softwoods like pine or spruce because they were easier to cut and shape. The logs needed to be straight and sturdy, roughly 10 to 12 inches in diameter. Trees were chopped down, trimmed of their branches, and cut into similar lengths. These logs would form the walls. The best ones were used for the base and corners, where stability mattered most. Others were used for stacking and filling in the walls. Each log was a building block. Each one mattered. Building the foundation. Pioneers didn't use concrete. Instead, they created a simple foundation using flat stones or stacked logs. Sometimes, if they had the time and energy, they dug a shallow trench to help with water drainage. Leveling the foundation was tough without modern tools. They used sight lines, levels made from water and tubes, or simple wooden tools to ensure everything sat evenly. Even a crooked start could mean a failed structure down the line. Notching logs. One of the most important skills in log cabin construction was notching. This is how they connected the logs at the corners. There were several types. Saddle notches, V-notches, and square notches were the most common. These notches were carefully cut into each end of a log. When stacked, the notches would interlock, securing the logs in place. A poorly cut notch could cause gaps, leading to drafts, leaks, or even collapse. They had no room for error. Stacking the walls. Once the foundation and first logs were placed, the walls began to rise. Each log was hoisted into place by hand or with the help of a simple pulley system. Ramps made from logs or planks helped lift heavy logs higher as the walls grew. As the walls went up, they were staggered for strength, much like bricks. Each log had to be aligned carefully. Gaps between logs were filled with a mixture called chinking, a blend of clay, mud, moss, straw, or even animal hair. This helped insulate the cabin and keep out wind and pests. Anding the door and windows. Openings for doors and windows were cut out once the walls were at full height. The door frame was usually made first and the wall logs built around it or cut after. Wooden pegs or nails held the frame in place. Windows were often just open holes covered in oiled paper or animal hide to let in light but keep out bugs and rain. Glass was rare and expensive. Many families didn't have it until months or years later. Even a single window was a luxury on the frontier. Constructing the roof. Once the walls were complete, the roof became the next challenge. Without a roof, all the work could be destroyed in a single storm. Pioneers built sloped roofs so rain and snow could slide off. Rafters were made from smaller trees or branches, placed at an angle and secured with wooden pegs or leather straps. The roofing material varied. Wooden shingles, bark, or even sod were common. Sod roofs had layers of earth and grass, which added insulation but also weight. Building a roof took strength and speed. It had to be done before the weather turned. The fireplace and chimney. Every cabin needed a source of heat and a place to cook. The fireplace was the heart of the home. Most were built with stone, mud, and clay. Pioneers used what was available: rocks from a nearby stream, clay dug from the earth. The chimney rose through the roof. Fire was sacred. It meant warmth, meals, and survival. Letting it go out could be a death sentence during winter. Many families assigned a child to guard the fire at night. Flooring. Some cabins had dirt floors at first. Others built plank floors from split logs, called puncheons. To make puncheons, logs were split lengthwise with an axe or adze, then flattened on one side. These were laid over beams or directly on the ground. Floors were swept clean daily.
In some homes, they were packed with clay and ash to reduce dust.
It wasn't pretty, but it was functional. Furnishing the cabin. Furniture was usually homemade. Beds were made of wood frames with rope or rawhide supports, topped with straw or feather mattresses. Tables were rough-hewn from logs. Benches or stools replaced chairs. Every item had to be functional and durable. Storage was limited, maybe a shelf, a trunk, or a wall peg. Food was kept in sacks or jars, often hung from the ceiling to protect from rodents. There was no space for clutter. Every item had a purpose. Life in the cabin. Pioneer cabins were small, often just one room for the whole family. There was no privacy. Parents, children, and sometimes even hired hands slept under the same roof. Nights were spent around the fire. Families told stories, mended clothes, or prepared food. Outside, coyotes howled. Wind whistled through the trees. Rain often found its way inside. Snow blew under the door. But still, it was home. Challenges they faced. Building a home was only the beginning. Maintaining it was an ongoing battle. Logs would shift, rot, or crack. Roofs had to be repaired constantly. Mud chinking wore away with rain and wind. Insects like termites could destroy wood. Fires were a constant danger. A single spark could wipe out months of work. Then came the cold. Winters were brutal. Families huddled together for warmth. Some froze, some didn't make it. Resilience and ingenuity. Despite the odds, most pioneers built homes that stood for decades. Many still stand today. Their success came from resilience, problem-solving, and teamwork. They didn't see themselves as heroes. They just did what had to be done. Community support. Sometimes neighbors helped raise a cabin. These were known as house raisings. In just one day, 20 or 30 people could raise the walls and frame of a house. It was hard work, but also a celebration. These events brought communities together and gave everyone a better chance of survival. No one made it alone on the frontier. Cooperation was a matter of life and death. The legacy. Today we build homes with power tools, blueprints, and crews. Back then, it was bare hands, raw wood, and trust in each other. The first homes of the pioneers weren't just buildings. They were symbols of determination, courage, and human spirit. They were cold in the winter, hot in the summer, and always at risk, but they stood. And so did the people inside them. It's easy to forget how far we've come, but understanding how they lived reminds us of what we're capable of, even without modern comforts.